Hi, welcome back everyone. While we are all waiting for a new leak, I decided to try a couple cool ideas I had in mind. In this video I'm going to talk about my Tanky CoC Autobomber. This build is basically a combination of Junk's double CoC build with Numlocking automation. You can do pretty hard content, but I don't think that the damage level is enough for rogue exiles. Personally, I've been farming Alvine T17s for raw currency drops, and it's more than enough for it. You just run around and pick up loot. You pretty much never die during the map. Bosses can take some time, but you basically can AFK the entire fight. Okay, but before we begin, if by the end of the video you will think that I did a great job, don't forget to like and subscribe, it will help me a lot. Now let's get straight into the main interaction of the build. First, let's start with the way I'm making this build an Autobomber. I'm achieving this with combination of Malonize mechanism and Numlocking technique. This quiver will trigger socketed bow skills when I use a skill. We are going to trigger 2 attack skills. Any skill will work, but the skills with more projectiles are preferred due to life and ES recovery on hit. And then those 2 skills will trigger 2 Mana Forge arrow setup. And in order to trigger them effectively, I have used life tap in both of them, so this way we don't have to worry about mana thresholds. The first Mana Forge setup is custom crit Desecrate, which will create corpses that we are going to explode using second custom crit setup with Volotile Dead of Seething. It will explode up to 10 corpses at once, and it will give more damage compared to regular Detonate Dead. This was the damage setup. Now let's talk about automation itself. In order for automation to work, it needed to be linked with some other skill. You can use several skills for this purpose, even something like Detonate Mines, but I'm going to use Steel Skin for additional tankiness. The cool thing about Malonize is that it will trigger socketed skills not only when the automation is activated, but also when it's turned off. This way we can trigger 2 skills socketed in the quiver, and this is perfect because by default the cooldown of Malonize is 1 second, so we are going to trigger 2 skills in order to achieve maximum efficiency. Also, to further improve the triggering rate, I decided to use a combination of Forbidden Jewels with like Clockwork passive, elevated cooldown recovery on the boots, and 1 Abyssal Jewel. The total cooldown breakpoint optimal for this build is 52%. This way we can achieve triggering rate of custom crit of 10.1 per second. But now we have a problem. Since we have life tap in our links, the life cost is crazy. And in order to overcome it, I'm using a combination of several sources of life leech, life gain on hit, and life gain on kill. And last but not least, how to turn this build into Autobomber. It's not enough to just activate the automation, it won't be cast continuously. Of course, we can just hold the button, and for some of you it might be enough. Just hold the button, loot everything, and the auto-targeted will do all the work. But well, this is not really Autobomber playstyle. Some of you might remember Numlocking technique from my last Immortal Autobomber. For those of you who are new to this technique, it is basically a way to make the game think that we are pressing the button. To do so, simply bind some skill to the button on the numpad, enable numlock, hold that button, and then disable numlock. And that's it. The game will think that we are pressing the button until the loading screen. So you can just join the map, lock the key, and just run around with 0 button build. If you don't have the numpad on your keyboard, there might be something similar, or just to press the button with something heavy or something else. Well, this is pretty much it when it comes to the key interactions of the build. The rest is pretty simple. Now let's quickly get over the gear and how to craft it. For the weapon you have 3 options depending on your budget. For all of them you want to get Assassin Bow with the item level between 75 and 79 in order to maximize the chances of success. For the cheapest one you spam Essences of Rage until you hit custom crit mob, then you just lock prefixes and reforge crit and hope to get high crit chance or crit multi and craft the other one. The next bow would be exactly the same, but instead of Essences of Rage we spam Essences of Fear, and use minion damage enchant on the bow or anoint on the amulet. For the high budget version, after you hit custom crit mode with Essences of Fear, you need to have an open prefix and suffix. Then you can craft cannot roll attack modifiers and Exalt Slam. On average, you hit +1 to level socket gems in around 1 in 5 attempts. If you fail, try to annul or go back to essence spamming. Then finish the craft with prefix cannot be changed and reforge crit and craft the missing one. Then enchant the bow with the minion damage and get +1 to curses on your amulet. The helmet is the crown of the inward. The good corruptions are Fire Leech, Life Regen, Reservation and +2 maximum power charges. The quiver is obviously replica Malonize mechanism. For the body armor I'm using default necrotic armor. Try to get as high ES and evasion as you can get. You can see that I have pretty bad armor with T4 mods and crafted suppress. This is enough for me. You can choose any Eldritch Implices that you like. Next, the amulet is the leadership prize. To get full benefits from this amulet you need to have 2 of your highest attributes to be exactly the same. You can easily do so with the help of tattoos and cluster jewels. Then I have 3 rings that I'm using. Death Rush for the adrenaline while mapping, and a pair of 2 exact rings for bossing. Because depending on the life gain and hit levels of your gear, you probably won't have enough for a single target bosses. So for the bossing, I'm swapping Death Rush with the second ring. Those rings are pretty straightforward to craft. Buy level 81 Elder Amethyst rings, then spam SSS of Scorn until you get some useful suffix like accuracy, resistance, fire damage, etc. Then, if you have an open suffix, lock suffixes and reforge chaos to get some chaos res. Then lock suffixes again and reforge life until you get life gain on hit and finish the craft with the crafted life. For the gloves, I'm using default warlock gloves with the high ES and life. I got kinda lucky with crafting those ones, but basically you need to buy fractured in gloves and then spam SSF of greed and try to get as high ES as possible. Then lock prefixes and reforge chaos to get chaos res. For the average you can get hinder and suppress or fire exposure. The boots are pretty expensive, but you can start with a cheaper option. Buy level 86 Crusader boots, Warlock are preferred, and don't forget you can change influence type by Harvest Bench. Then alt spam until you get T1 cooldown mode, then Regal, lock suffixes and reforge physical. Make sure that the boots have only 2 Crusader mods, then use Orb of Dominance and pray for the 50-50. By the way, when I was crafting these boots, I lost 13 50-50s in a row. So good luck, then just craft movement speed and you're done. For higher budget boots, you need to craft Tailwind pair. Buy any item level 75 Hunter boots, alt spam until you get the Tailwind mod, then Regal, lock suffixes and reforge physical, and use Orb of Dominance. Then combine those 2 boots using Awakener's Orb. You need to use it on the Hunter boots and move the Tailwind one over to second pair. Now depending on the outcome you have several options. If you have an open suffix and prefix, you can lock suffixes and try to reforge fire to get +1 to maximum res or just fire resistance. And if you don't have open suffix, then just lock suffixes and use Veiled Chaos Orb in order to get Veiled Prefix. Craft mana and unveil it. The chances of getting movement speed is very high. For the belt slot, obviously I'm using Mage Blood. For budget version you could get some Stygian belt with some res and use same flasks and swap the precision multi, not on the Watcher's Eyes, for the gain flask charges on crit. Because we're hitting so fast, we will always have those charges up. And that's basically it. Now let's get over the tree and the Jewels. The tree is pretty basic, so I don't really know what should I talk about, so let's just move straight into the Jewels. For the Watchers, I'm using precision crit multi and ES gain on hit. You can try to get another combination. As said before, swap precision multi for flask charges. ES gain is pretty nice as well, so I don't want to swap it to something else. The recovery on this build is one of the main sources of defense. Next, I have this nice Crimson Jewel and it's pretty insane how well it fits into the build. Without this Reservation Corrupt, I don't have enough of all the auras I have, so try to get either Corrupted or just Reservation suffix on it. For the Abyss Jewel, I have random one with the cooldown mode, try to get something useful here. Then Lethal Pride with as much double damage as you can get. For the clusters, I'm using one big fire cluster with Dorianis for the leech, Smoky Remains and Prismatic Heart for the damage. 2 identical crit clusters with pressure points and basics of pain. Don't forget that you can use those for fixing attribute level. And last but not least, like Clockwork Forbidden set. And now let's move on to the gems. In the bow, I have main trigger damage setup linked with Awakened Fire Penetration and Energy Leech. Then aura setup in the gloves with Grace, Purity of Elements and Discipline. In the quiver I have Precision and Tornado Shot with Toxic Ray in order to trigger Mana Forge arrows. And in the boots I have Steel Skin automation setup with Flammability Curse. And for the second triggering setup I have Desecrate linked with the Spell Cascade in order to create up to 12 curses possible. And that's basically it. The damage is pretty hard to calculate due to different level of corpse life during mapping. As you saw for the background, mapping is not really a problem and this build just lacks a bit of boss in DPS. But with this level of survivability and recovery, you can basically AFK in the boss arena and slowly but surely kill the boss. Overall, I'm extremely surprised how the build turned out. I was not expecting it to be this good and you should definitely try it out for yourself. Well, this is it guys. While we're all waiting for a new leak, I will try to show you some cool builds that I have in mind. For my next build, I'm thinking of making fastest heist runner out there with some cool tech, so stay tuned. If you think that I did a great job, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you wish to support me financially, there is a link in the description below. And I will see you in the next one, bye!